Yeah, later on in life, looking back, I was hoping that I would make a career and be successful, and it wasn't all that I thought it was. You know, the road is different. People have a false concept of what's going on. You know, it's about being in the right place at the right time, having the right management, which I did not have. At one point I did have the management, but things changed, you know. When I was in Chicago, I moved to Chicago, and Sonny Payne's daughter was my girlfriend, who happened to be Crazy Chris Colombo's granddaughter. And I didn't know all of that at the time, you know, but she was a booking representative. Her name was Lady Jean, and she booked Jimmy Smith, Jack McDuff. I mean, you name it, she knew them all. She was instrumental in getting me hooked up with Charles Earland, Freddie Cole, Nat King Cole's brother, Hank Crawford and Jimmy Witherspoon, and that's where I had my first trio. I had it in Chicago at a place called The Other Place at 75th and Kings Drive. I was working every weekend. I was booked. Like I had a lock in it. You know, my band was there, along with a couple of other bands, and we would rotate.
And it was called the Duck Scott Trio?
Yes.
And who was in it besides you?
Organist by the name of Lloyd Wilson from Barbados, who I met through playing with Arthur Prysock. Okay. Yeah. And after we finished with Arthur, Lloyd moved to Chicago, and he was my organist. Okay. Yeah. And
do you have a guitarist on the?
I didn't have a guitarist. I had a saxophone player, numerous saxophone players, but we had a female alto saxophonist by the name of Jeanette Jefferson, who was our leading, the one in the front.
So she played alto sax?
She could play, yeah. She played like a man, like my mother plays like a man on the organ. Yeah.
So, let me see. Do you have any questions, Ray?
Well, how do you, I mean, is it because of your mother? You seem to just gravitate to organ players. They seem to be the mainstay of your career.
Yeah, I studied the drummers and how they played. Bobby Durham was showing me how to play behind them. Don Patterson was pretty much one that really drove me and made me really work hard. As you know, with organ, you have much more action. You have to stay busy, much more so, because you don't have a bass player, you don't have a piano, guitar player, or anything like that. It's what they call a power trio. Yeah, it's all work. Nobody is sitting back, relaxing. Everything is all energy, all the time.
And how would you compare, Jimmy McGriff and Charles Earland? Or, I mean, do they have any characteristics that you remember?
Well, Jack was the one that really helped me and honed me as far as an organ drummer. Before, he had a drummer by the name of Joe Dukes, and that was when he had Red Holloway, George Benson in the band, and Joe Dukes. And I patterned myself, Jack was saying, you're not, where's the fire? You got to put more fire in there. You got to push this thing, And he drove me, He wasn't short on words and letting me know, calling me this and calling me that to get that fire, And that's all it took. And Jack was the one that really taught me a lot about organ, drumming. My mother was cool. She taught me a lot about sambas, playing and comping, but I tended to play and anticipate where she was going. I just knew where she was going so much, and I was like stepping on toes, It wasn't actually my fault. It's just that's what I felt, and it just happened to click. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, your recordings, who did you record with?
Okay, I recorded with Pete Chavez at Sigma Sounds, yeah. We did one CD. We recorded it at Sigma Sounds, and I think it was entitled "For Old Time's Sake."
What year was that?
That was in maybe the early '90s or before, a little prior to. And then from there, I did some recording in Germany with the U.S. Organ Trio. Those recordings are still available, but they're overseas, and you can pull them up. The guitarist's name is Michael Arlt, A-R-L-T, and funny how I got that job was Billy James was the drummer at the time, and for some reason Billy didn't show up for a gig, and Dan Kostelnik mentioned my name and got me the gig. So in 1991, I believe, we went to Germany. We were doing 2 weeks out of the year, right after Oktoberfest. They were all one-nighters. They were all on the road, and I saw parts of Germany that a lot of people didn't see. We went to East Germany. We played in silos where they had stockpiled potatoes and things of that nature. And when we were on the East German side, you know how you see like the old black and white war pictures, combat and everything. You see it looks all gray and everything. That's just the way it looked. It was really amazing to travel and see so much. They even had areas in Germany where they never saw black people. You know, yeah, I was surprised at that. But I was wondering why they look at me so strange. And I was like, hey, they've never seen a black man before. So okay, we'll take a picture. Last one.
What was? Can you remember some of your most favorite gigs that you had that you really, really loved?
Yeah. I did a substitute. I substituted for Mickey Roker at Boomers in the Village, where I played with my mom. That was nice. And from out of that, I got to perform in Miami with the Count Basie All Stars at Travelers Lounge with Al Gray. Jimmy Forrest, Jimmy Night Train Forrest. Yeah. I forget the bass player's name, but that was a nice 2 weeks.
Why did you like it so much?
Because I was playing with the big boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be part of the Count Basie All Stars, to say the least. We played at Storyville once, and Buddy Rich was in the audience. So I'm playing, I see Buddy Rich, and I'm playing. Then Buddy Rich gets up and starts walking to me with his hand out, saying, okay, give me the sticks. And I gave them to him. And he played my drums like they were his. I said, I can't get that out of there. What? This guy's amazing. You know, that was really a nice memory for me. I played with Zoot Sims. I did the Rotterdam Jazz Cruise with Wild Bill Davis. I met Jonah Jones, Zoot Sims, so many different artists. But I hooked up with Zoot when he came back to New York. He said, when you're in New York, come and see me. I came to New York, I called him, we hung out, you know. We rode around the city, went to the Vanguard, Village Gate, and I had a nice time.
You mentioned Sigma Sound a minute ago. You were in Philly all during that Gamble and Huff sound of Philadelphia. Did you have any connection with any of those guys?
I tried my hardest to get a shoe in with Kenny Gamble, but at that time, you know, I guess I was younger, and they pretty much had their own you know, group.
That was Earl Young.
Yeah, yeah,
The drummer.
yeah. Denise Montana, her father, you know, I didn't know at that time she was part of that.
Right.
And I ended up playing in a band with her at the Hershey Hotel for a good stint.
That's the one at Broad and...
Broad and Walnut, I think it was.
I think I remember that.
Mhm.
When you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice gig.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'd like to breach a subject. I know you had some addiction issues. Can you talk a little bit about that? Do you feel comfortable with it?
I'm okay with it, you know. The thing is, that's the part that I didn't see it coming. It hit me with a ton of bricks. Before I knew it, I was caught, you know. But on the road with Jack, there was a lot of that going on behind the scenes. With Arthur Price, there was a lot of that going on. It's almost like you couldn't get away from it, you know. And I really wasn't into the crack cocaine so much, you know, until like the late 80s. And that's before it really got the way it is now. It was more of a social thing. It was a weekend warrior type thing, and it wasn't so toxic, so to speak. You know, it was like weekend warrior. But as time went on, it progressed. It's like all addictions do; they progress. And I did a lot of rehab. As a matter of fact, from rehab.
Some coaching too, right?
Yes, I became a house manager, and I was cleaning for about 9 years. That was due to me being in the process and sharing what I had, and realizing that, see, people think that the drug is the addiction, but it isn't. It's just a symptom of the addiction. It's a lot deeper than that. So it's a way of medicating feelings that you don't know how to address. It's just like a pacifier for a baby, for adults, you know. And to the very day, you know, a lot of people don't realize that they have these hang-ups and these addictions and things that they do because they're missing the teeth, you know.
Now, I wanted to ask you, since you do have so much experience in the process and everything, why do you think so many musicians tend to go through that, where they have an addiction, and some don't make it out?
Some people are just weak. Some people don't know better. Some people are told, well, this will make you play better, you know. And then the feeling, the euphoria that they get from that, and believing such a thing, before they know it, they're hooked, you know. And a lot of people can't play without it.
Philly Joe was kind of known for that, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people, just like alcohol, which is one of the things, like Zoot Sims couldn't play without a shot of whiskey, but his shot was a full glass. You know, yeah. You know, the addiction has many different substances that create addicts. You know.
So you don't think it's something in the musician's life that makes musicians susceptible to?
At one time, it was acceptable. Nowadays, it's not. And I'm glad that it isn't. You know, you don't have drug dealers coming in and pulling you on the side. And here's another thing. People were so eager to be in your company that they would pull you aside and give you anything you wanted. You know, whatever you wanted, you know, on the breaks. you know, buying you drinks, things of that nature. You know, people that come up to me and on my break, and I said, you don't remember me? What's my name? Oh, now you don't remember me, huh? You don't want a drink? I said, maybe I might want a sandwich, man. What makes you think that I want to spend my break spending it all with you when all these other people know me as well? You know, and they you know, it's a cool down time. It's not a time that I want to be entertained. But I mean, I'm cordial and I'm polite, but enough is enough. I need a break. Yeah.
I want to go back to another thing you mentioned briefly, was Bootsy Barnes getting you a gig. Now, did you meet Bootsy through the union, or? No.
Bootsy had just came home from being incarcerated, from that long time he was locked up. And his first gig was with my mother on Ridge Avenue, on 29th and Ridge, at a place, I forget the name of the bar, but it was a corner bar. And that's where I met him. I didn't really play with him at that time. But as time went on, and when Don came into town, after let me think if I can remember how. I started working at Matt Jones with Don. And
who?
Don Patterson.
Yeah, Patterson, okay.
Yeah. But prior to that, Bootsy was always the guy that was getting gigs. He was always getting gigs. And he had I think a Packard, and we would drive around. He'd pick me up, drive around to neighborhood spots. You know, we played matinees. Just, you know, and he kept work. We always worked.
What years was this that you're talking about when you first started playing with Bootsy?
It had to be in the late 70s. Yeah.
Now, how did your mother meet Bootsy? Through playing at the, because a lot of people met Bootsy when they played the prison. Mm-hmm.
I really don't know how she met him. I think Bootsy came to her and asked for a gig, and my mom gave him a gig. Mm-hmm. And it was on and popping after that. And Bootsy, I used to go, he lived on 33rd Street, had an apartment, and he used to bring all this you know, manuscript paper of transcribed solos of John Coltrane. And he would play them. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember, I forget when or how it happened, but Bootsy asked me, he said, you want to go on the road? And I said, sure. Who are we going with? Jack McDuff. I said, let's go. And we took a Trailways bus, Bootsy and myself, to New York. And we rehearsed. We stayed at Jack's place, and I think we rehearsed for about 2 days, and then we were on the road.
Now, what kind of songs were you doing? Some originals or standards, or?
We were doing all of Jack's stuff, okay. All of his recordings, 1 and 8, Real Goodin'. What else? Walking the Dog. You know, that's my favorite. I love it. Well, I did 1 and 8, you know, from Jazz Bridge in that recording. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That was an incredible concert. Oh my God.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack was really the one that showed me a lot and inspired me in learning and how to play with organists, you know, what not to play. Cues, certain words like strolling, that means lay out. I didn't know what it meant. And he was a genius. He was really a genius. He was something else. I didn't know it at the time, but as I reflect and look back and listen to his music, he was a genius. You know, he did a lot of, like, I guess you would say, popular music from the 70s. You know, it wasn't really all jazz. Electric Surfboard, right. Things of that nature. We played that. I didn't know where it came from, you know. But he was something, man. He was really something. Yeah.